Hey, it's Chris Gio from Merchant Method, and you are watching an episode of Retail Charm School. I am super excited to join you. About an hour late, I was having some technical problems, and I wanted to come back and make sure that I can deliver this lesson live as promised. So thanks for sticking with me. Today we're talking about the most overlooked way to improve customer connections. Now, this idea of customer retention, of loyalty, of improving your revenue has been one that's been very, very relevant for me and I think for you in the last couple of weeks. And what we're going to do is really explore what data means for customer retention, specifically inside a small business like yours, whether you're a small retailer, a small batch manufacturer, or if you are a maker or designer. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Now, this is part 2 of an entire series dedicated to the 10 things you can do to improve your retail profit. And this season is in celebration of merchant math. And I don't want the word math to scare you. I don't want data and financing and reporting to scare you, because I promise you it can be more storytelling and narrative than maybe you have thought in the past. It doesn't have to be scary. I've got your back, right? So I'm here to help you understand the different ways that you can build loyalty and use data to inspire that. All right, so that's what we're here to talk about today. I want to give a really quick shout out to Angela Delarmente from Knuckle Kiss. She is a jewelry designer and maker here in Seattle, Washington. If you are ever at Pike Place Market, she's there. I've yet to find you and give you a quick squeeze. Thank you so much for joining me last week, Angela. Last week, we were talking about merchant mindset and the different ways you can think about and the things that you have to know and keep in mind as you pursue more profit inside your inventory-based business. And one of the ways in which we connected was really around this concept of how do you measure success or growth in your business. And the most obvious way to really think through that is looking at the financials, looking at the numeric or the quantitative metrics, but there are so many other things that we do that are worthy of measuring and evaluating and really appreciating, that really lead to not just strong customer connections, but also real business growth, real top line growth, real bottom line growth. And that blend of the numbers and the experience, qualitative, quantitative, tangible, and intangible, are really important as we move on to today's episode all around customer loyalty. Awesome. We're live. Perfect. Can you give me a shout out and say, hey, I would love like a little thumbs up or a heart, or let me know you're here. I was having some hiccups earlier about an hour ago, and we'll just call that a rehearsal. And I'm here today. I'm here for it. So thank you for joining me. Let's dive in. And I want to really explore how we keep customers at the heart of everything. How do you keep customers at the heart of everything? For me, I like to keep my customers and my clients at the heart of what I do by really thinking through seasonality, where they are in their businesses, when they're most busy and might not need a lot of information or might not even want to get strategic. They just need help problem solving in the moment. I think about how can I support before it gets too busy, and when are merchants just really not available because they are taking much needed breaks. So I like to think about seasonal selling on the calendar. As you think through loyalty, remember that customers really are at the heart of everything. There is no business if there are no customers to sell to. And so yes, what makes you unique as a merchant is that you have an inventory-based business, and it's the vehicle through which we make those connections. And it is in that exchange of inventory for payment where you get your revenue and how you help manage expenses in and out. So really, it's customers at the heart of everything. And depending on, how established you are, if you are pursuing a change in the direction of your business, if you're pursuing new product categories, or if you're brand new, there are different ways that customers engage with your business, just like there are different customers. So I like to remember through the heat of it all, whether it's product management or project management, if there's no customers, there's no business. The second thing to keep in mind is retention, customer retention. If you've heard that word but not really familiar with what it means, it's this whole practice area around keeping the customers that are already with you. And there's a lot of things we do to keep customers with us that have to do with loyalty. And what I like to say is that customer intimacy is more valuable than romance. So intimacy is this deep knowing, deep interaction, the things that we provide and do for our most loyal customers that are really valuable for them. Romance really is about attracting new customers, catching their attention, disrupting their normal behavior. And according to Invesp, that's invest with a P, Invesp, it is 5 times more to acquire a new customer than it is to keep a customer that you already have. And by 5 times more, I mean 5 times more expensive, 5 times more time consuming. So let's say, for example, when it comes to social media, if you are trying to use social media to acquire more customers, it's going to take more time and cost more money than it might be, say, to have an intimate conversation with a smaller number of customers. That's what I mean about intimacy being more valuable than romance. And according to Invesp, if you are able to improve customer retention just by 5%, you can actually increase your profit by 25% and as much as 95%. There's a lot at stake. So not only is it more affordable, it's also more profitable, right? So it's a double win. I love double wins. Thirdly, feedback is really important when it comes to customer relationships. Feedback's important for any relationship. And there's a lot of different ways that we can receive and be open to and look out for and listen for feedback from the customer. Okay, so before we dive in, I want to make sure that you're aware of the entire season for Retail Charm School, because it's really dedicated to this idea around using math in a much different way, using math to affirm, to confirm, to inform what we do, but not only to drive what we do, because we need to balance that with other things that we experience in our business. So the way that you can stay tuned and get a sense of what's ahead is to go to Merchant Method on Facebook. So if you go here, you can click to the events and you can see this whole series of events. And if you click on, and if you click interested, you'll see all of the dates and times. But more importantly, you'll be able to look at the entire context of what we're here to do, including the whole syllabus. And I am actually just going to pop into the discussion and say, hey, had problems with my scheduled live stream, but I'm on live right now. And then what I'm going to do is grab this link and just pop it in there while we're together. One of the things about when it comes to this loyalty and engagement is you're going to try a lot of things. And the name of the game really is trying and understanding over the long term really what works and what doesn't. Not everything's going to work. You're going to run into some hiccups. There might be hiccups even on things that actually do work, and you might have a learning curve. Case in point, I've never had this much trouble with my live streaming, but I am today. Okay. All right. So when it comes to insights and feedback, what are the insights that you're looking for in your business? I'd love to know. When it comes to what you find valuable as a way to respond to your customers, what is most valuable to you? For me, when I think about insights and feedback that are valuable, I really love to think about the farmers market because it really highlights the difference between a quantitative and a qualitative experience. So when I go to the farmers market, the quality of the intangibles are that I'm going to see things, I'm going to hear them, I'm going to smell them, I'm going to touch them. And there's a lot of that. And as creative people, and depending on what the experience is, the quality of the experience might leave such a lasting impression that it dominates our understanding of the actual potential and of the actual opportunity. So I will be meeting vendors, I'll be people watching, I will hear the sound of food cooking, I'll hear the sound of dogs barking and maybe people singing, I'll smell flowers, I'll smell fresh fruit, I will taste things. This whole sensory experience, depending on how we responded to it, like how we interpreted it, the thoughts that we associate with it can completely dominate what we think the real selling potential is. On the other hand, if we were to take something to be a little bit more intimate, one-on-one interaction, we might get direct feedback from a customer, but also what this customer buys, have they bought before, how much are they purchasing, what are the types of items, how expensive are they. This experience versus the data, they're both valid. They're both valid, whether you like to have an experience or whether you prefer the data. They're both valid and they're both valuable. And so it really is about pursuing a blend, because in this idea and this hope to build more loyal customers and to strengthen our relationship with them, what the customers are trying to tell us is pretty transparent. We really just have to know where to look and understand where to go. So how are you really listening to your customers? How are we listening to our customers? What do you listen for when you're thinking about drawing customers in closely? For me, I listen for key phrases. I listen for how they describe themselves, what kinds of words they might use to describe solutions or excitement, what kinds of words they'll use to describe fatigue. I'm looking for a lot of different things, so I'm sure you have your cues. Now, it's important, even for our most loyal customers, to pay attention to what they say, what they do, what types of products they pick up and touch, how they act. And because these are the things that really inspire us and make us most excited, it can actually be pretty easy for us to dismiss those that don't do those things as not our customer. But just as important as what customers do and how they act and what they say is what they don't do, how they decide not to take action or their apathy. What they don't say, what they don't touch is just as important. Action is just as important as inaction. So I want you to listen and be open to evaluating that kind of behavior. Also, what customers put in their shopping carts, the figurative, literal, or their baskets, because this spend, how they actually spend, is always going to be wildly different than what you might be surveying or how you might be interpreting polls on social media. The number of visits, are they increasing, decreasing, potential transactions like abandoned carts? All of this is really important for loyalty. So just as much as what you're looking for in action or inaction is how the data really changes over time, and not just the analytics on email marketing and social media, but the hard sales, revenue, profit, cash flow data. It's challenging to listen when it feels like there's a void, but being open to what a void might be telling you can be very informative. So when it comes to customer loyalty, I want you to be open to being surprised, because you might find a gem in there. You just might never know. Okay, let's take a quick water break here. Question number 3. Let curiosity be your guide. You don't have to know everything. So whether you are very decisive and you want to move forward quickly, knowing that you can course correct later, or whether you are someone who really likes to plan, in the space of curiosity, ask a question, propose a hypothesis. You can jump into the unknown still with a question in mind. You know, what would you like to know about your customer? If you have a customer question, type it in. It's fantastic to be thoughtful and curious and to put it into words. Once you contextualize something, you can start to look out for it. So let's say, for example, I never knew that Teslas were a thing. And someone I know bought a Tesla, and I just started seeing them everywhere because it was in the forefront of my mind. Or I had been thinking about roller skating last year, and now it's like everything roller skating. Just, I noticed it all. So pause it a question, your brain will subconsciously start to try and resolve it. And this whole concept of asking more questions is really important for merchant mindset, because it really allows you to find, if you're asking higher quality questions, get higher quality thoughts and insights around those questions. And when you have higher quality insights or thoughts, or you're better informed, you will automatically be making better choices. So let your curiosity about the customer be your guide. Now, you don't have to have an answer to the question. You don't have to know. You can remain ever curious and be in pursuit of that. What's more important than having a specific answer is continuing to ask that question over time. So here's a great example. We entered 2020, maybe you developed your sales goal, and we don't know that we're ever going to hit that goal. But we're trying, and the kind of questions that we can keep asking ourselves mid-month and at the end of every month is how to go. So for example, I developed my 2020 plan. It was all around, offering products, what my promotion's going to be for that, for each of those products, but then also my financial forecast and plan balanced against what my expenses are. And at the end of every month, I go in and reconcile those, not just because I have to do my accounting and my filing, but also because it helps me understand what it is that I should pay attention to so that I can course correct or adjust or do something differently with more urgency in the moment. So when it comes to customer loyalty, I want you to ask valuable questions before diving into hindsighting your experience or before diving into any of the reports that come out of your point of sale system. So here's a couple of examples of a question that's not as valuable versus a high value question. And I get asked these quite a bit. So the first would be, how do I know an opportunity is worth it? Whether it's an opportunity to share a space and co-retail with someone, or whether it's an opportunity to collaborate with someone or participate in a market. Really, the more high value question is, what do I need from this opportunity in order for the risks to be worth it? Right? So when asking like, what do you need from the opportunity, it's asking you to dive back in, revisit your mission, your values, your goals, your purpose. That like higher level question is really, really important. Another one could be, I want to offer new products. Where do I find those products? When do I have time to find new vendors? Or when's a good time to launch something new? The higher value question is, what in my current assortment needs to be replaced and why does it need to be replaced? Because if you can really understand the quality of what no longer serves your customers and what no longer serves your brand, it will better inform your choices in picking something new. The last question is really in this pursuit of two-way feedback is, what information is okay to ignore? Because there is information that is okay to ignore. I filter a lot. Do you filter? I would love to know how you go about filtering information and inputs in your business. There's so much out there around being data driven, and for brands, whether they're retailers, they're makers, they're manufacturers, whether they're brand new or have been in the game for 20, 30 or more years, or anywhere in between, there's so much information about using data that really the best indicator for future behavior is past behavior, and that really is, true. I'm not going to argue that. But we're not fortune tellers. We can't predict the future. There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of volatility, but it doesn't mean that we don't pursue it anyway. That's part of leading within a business, and that's part of being a merchant. Is there's lots of unknown. How do you trust yourself to move forward? And so sometimes we need to just filter out a lot of noise, and sometimes we need to really have a lot of confidence in what we trust. And having confidence in what you trust is an important part in delineating, are you going to be data driven or are you just going to be inspired by data? So when we think about, a big cosmopolitan city like this city, for example, there's just a lot of quantity in here. It represents a huge population. And so even if we're looking at maybe 10% of a population this large, we're going to get more statistically significant information than if we're looking at 10% of a smaller, maybe more rural population. And so another way to think about it is, let's say you are planning a vacation and you want to go to Maui. You'll ask a bunch of people their best spots for going. And maybe the person who just came back from their first trip, you will take their recommendations a little bit differently and weigh it differently than someone who lives on the island. Or another example would be, if something is on sale for 50% off of $5, that $2.50 savings is really different than 50% off of $1,000. That $500 savings. So know that as a small business, the kind of data that you are able to pull, the kind of data you're able to record, is going to be a little bit more volatile depending on your history, the number of transactions, just the amount of information. So you can and should look to it, but it shouldn't drive all of your choices. When it comes to customer loyalty, it can confirm an important decision you're about to make. So I like to say, informed by the human experience, or inspired by the human experience, but informed by data. It's not the only thing that you're using. So remember, in this pursuit of improving customer loyalty, improving retention, don't be afraid of the data if you have some context, right? If you're keeping customers at the heart of your inquiry when you're diving into the data, let that be your motivation for working through maybe some things that are uncomfortable for you. It's okay. And I've got your back. So remember, there's no business unless you have customers. There really isn't. When it comes to improving revenue and profit, retention, loyalty, selling more to the customers you already have is going to be better for you more immediately than focusing mostly on acquisition. The blend is important, but we know that not only is it gratifying, not only is it more cost efficient, but it's also more profitable. And feedback. Feedback is an important part of two-way communication. And not only are we sharing information, we're really taking in information for how our customers act or don't act. So what customers are trying to tell you, I promise you, is transparent. If you are looking for it, if you're taking it in the entire quality of the engagement, but also if you're diving into some of the numbers between the data and the experience, quantitative and qualitative, what they're trying to tell you is pretty obvious. Number two, when it comes to customer loyalty, diving into that and being open to that can be scary. But I want you to be open to being surprised. You might uncover some gems that you totally forgot about because it's old news to you, but customers still love it. Number three, before you dive into the data, ask high-value questions. If you're asking a high-value question, you're that much closer to the answer. And let's go back to that. You can dive into it and not know what you're going to find, but in consistently asking the question, the answers that you get and how the answers change over time might be the answer, or might give you the information you're looking for. And lastly, don't feel pressure to be data-driven or to optimize from data if you are at a point of optimization, if you've gotten consistency, if you have gotten a lot of clarity, if things are predictable, if you're really trying to decide between 2, 3, 4, 5 of the best choices, if you're hitting your capacity, that's when you can optimize. But until you're there, be informed. Let it help you make important decisions. Blend it with what you know to be true from your experience. The mix is going to be great for you. Data-inspired directional data is what I call it. So what I want you to do next is really take action. It's super important. And I want you to select one high-value question and ask that each week this month. When you continue to ask it, you might reshape that question, and even a reshape of that question could point you into a more narrow direction, a more high-value direction, or could build your confidence. Next, so really that'll help you search for answers. And if you're not finding the answers in your experience, I'm going to encourage you to dive into the information you have at hand. Point of sale information, social stats, email marketing stats. There's just a lot of ways to improve loyalty, a lot of ways to improve revenue and profit. And if you want a more narrative approach and you want more care, because maybe you want another way to think about the numbers, I've got a program for you. It's a merchant math. And you can go to merchantmath.com to learn more, and you can join the wait list. I'm opening up a pricing for profit class in May. And it's one of my favorites. A few of the things that you'll learn are the hidden costs that impact profit, different ways to think about a comprehensive pricing strategy, understanding what repricing an item might actually do to your profitability, like running a promotion or having to mark something down. You're actually going to understand how to use some simple calculations to help you understand, is your inventory actually doing for you what you want it to do? Is it productive? Is it healthy? Is it helpful? And then we're going to go through an activity of creating a forecast and helping you understand how to make your own forecast and how to adjust it. So you can sign up for the waitlist here. When you do, it'll take you over to this post in the Facebook event group for this Retail Charm School series, and you'll see all of the episodes coming up. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. I did want to share 2 announcements as we close out. And the first is 2 dates in our series where our episodes are likely to be pre-recorded. I have some unplanned trips coming up on March 17th and then again on April 14th. And so be on the lookout. They'll be available in the Merchant Method Facebook group on Tuesday at 10. Tuesday, March 17th at 10, and then Tuesday, April 14th at 10. So I want to thank you so much. And I cannot wait to hear how you decide that you're going to be data inspired and use directional information to improve your customer loyalty. All right, I'll catch you next week. I'm going to take us out with a little music. Love this song. All right, thanks so much. Have a great day.